there's some other there's some other plans that Dawkins and I have when it comes to this community in the future. So at the same time that we're helping people and seeing them progress, uh, it would be dope to actually um, have some people be able to join and venture into different businesses and venture into different businesses, different, projects that we have in the future, that we can work on and stuff like that. But people got to be right. So this is not a singling out situation. This is more or less just bringing awareness. And the topic I'm covering today, comparisons a thief of joy, because a lot of us that deal with this in real life. I feel like this is a real life thing that a lot of us deal with, and we just don't take the time out to talk about it. Or when we do talk about it, we don't really break it down. And then most of the time, people are afraid to really talk about stuff like this because it has to do with emotions. It has to do with how you feel about something, someone. And I just want to continue to be that person that is always caring, but not caring. And what I mean by that is I care about how you feel, but I don't care when it comes to you staying the same. And it's about being able to really show who and what you could be. Um, my bad, let me turn this down. I got like 10 topics, right? So, first of all, y'all ain't have to really open up a chat, but y'all can just type in the chat. Do y'all know some people that really compare things to others? Just let me know if there's some relatability there. Or even for yourself, like if you ever grew out of that. Um, when I was young, I may have not understood certain things. So I may have asked, like, man, why does that person have that? You know what I'm saying? Especially for them being maybe a mean person or them being what some may call evil. You know what I'm saying? I would wonder, like, man, how are they obtaining things that I would consider a blessing? Um, but even being on a side that's good, there's another side for the people that continuously breed that. And it's interesting because when you're dealing with trading, it can influence you when you see other people doing things that are outside of your normal, right? Um, so something that's outside of someone's normal could be, let's say, for example, I've dealt with this with somebody, risk. Um, my risk may have been different, than someone else's risk. Someone makes $8,000 and then someone makes 500, it's still a winning day. It's not it's not to say another person is better or this, but I feel like we put expectations on ourselves or we put expectations on a scenario that we don't or we may not, either we don't or we may not have a full understanding of. And when we do that, it creates an imbalance with the way that we think. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Let me know if y'all follow me so far. I don't want to lose you. So the imbalance comes in because there's moments where we don't necessarily we don't necessarily take the time out to actually figure out what what we should be doing for ourselves. Because everyone's different, right? Everyone takes the time out to learn things differently. And the thing of the world is when someone makes a move forward, it can hinder the person who doesn't. And the only reason why is because of their own limitations. Because they may feel as if this person made something happen. So the first thing that they do is, they may call it luck. The second thing that they may do is wonder why something is the way it is. And covering today, as far as comparison being a thief of joy, everyone has their own journey. I feel like that's just so important to really recognize. It's not to take away from anyone that would continuously try something or someone that will come back to something. But when you compare, it takes away your happiness because you're worried about a whole nother person. And that really affects your trades, right? For an example, I have some notes up here and it says every trader has a different journey. Two traders can have the exact same strategy and still have different outcomes. So you got different account sizes, you have different experience levels, you have different financial responsibilities, and different personalities. A trader with 5 years of experience shouldn't be compared to someone with 6 months. Someone with 6 months shouldn't compare themselves to someone with 1 year. It would be crazy for me to look at the person that I learned fundamental analysis from um, when my homeboy invited me out down south and we took a trip and I went to go see him. It would have been crazy if I would have looked at him and been like, man, like, how does he have this McLaren? Or how's his, house like this? And when I was teaching a class, I remember asking students, I said, if Johnny has this book bag and it looks nice, I'm gonna break it down to y'all in like high school terms. Would you ask somebody, why do they have that? Or would you ask somebody, how did they get that? So when I speak about the psychology and the mindset of being able to actually understand what something looks like, if you don't control what something looks like, you'll see somebody and you'll get, you won't even catch yourself because subconsciously you'll look at somebody and be like, just out the side of your eye. Or someone, you know, you can tell when someone's being kind to you and then they just hit you with the because maybe they have their own perception of what they may think something is. They don't really give you that full engagement because of how they may see you or how they may view you. And that comes with expectations. And I think I covered that a bunch of Saturdays ago about completely removing your expectations of not just yourself, but other people too as well, because that helps you not be disappointed. There's been moments, just sharing a story, when I used to stay with somebody, I remember going in and out, like just being upstairs at night. And one of my homeboys would, he would get up for work around like 2 in the morning, 3. He would have the phone, he would call me up. And there was moments where he caught me falling asleep, at the desk because I was just going so hard and really trying to accomplish what I was doing. But it was interesting because the person that I stayed with, they gave up on this. They gave up. I didn't give up because I believed it. And it wasn't me just believing in myself. It was the fact that I saw my mentor, my coach, who I also consider my friend, I seen him doing it. And I'm like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. That's always been my mindset. Even for when I played rugby, I've seen someone jug and make a move. It's like I went into the gym And I would personally work on stutter steps, like left, right, and just like right, left, and try to work on my stutter step. And then I would get mad at myself until I could do it. So it's all about your mindset on seeing somebody do something. But going back to the story, this person would walk past me and I could just see it and hear it in their body language. They would just give out this long sigh. And you could hear it, just be like, and sometimes you can hear people. You can hear people's heart posture. You don't always have to see it. You can hear through the way that they respond to their own nervous system on whether or not they actually feel calm around you. And I feel like that's so important because moments where I heard the exhales, moments where I may have felt as if um this person, they may have not been supportive, but that didn't necessarily stop me from going forward. Um, you guys ever have a person walk past you, walk past you, walk past you, and you know darn well that they don't got nothing else to do? I know y'all had some moments like that, and I'm just trying to keep it real raw and funky because most of the time I've learned that people just check up or people try to make their presence known to try to make you uncomfortable about what you're doing or what you're believing in. But I've learned that comparison's a thief of joy, and there's certain seeds that you begin to water when you compare your life to others. The seeds that you begin to water, one of them is called jealousy. And the person that I was staying with, they didn't have to admit that they were jealous based on their body posture, based on the way that they were breathing hard every time they see me doing something that they gave up on. That's where the jealousy breeded itself. So their nervous system was uneasy. That little pit in their stomach, they couldn't sit with it. They couldn't sit with the fact that they gave up and it ended up being regret. So it's so interesting because when you're trying to take the time out to really understand your own self, if you go into a building or you go into a situation and you feel that pit in your stomach, you got to really understand what the pit is, first of all, because if you're thinking something that's automatically bad, then that pit might be coming from your thought before your emotion drives it, because it's always about what you think first before what you feel. So if one woman's looking at another woman and she sees that, she's got something going on or she feels like it's something else, whatever you're thinking is what's going to end up driving that person, or I'm sorry, to be more specific, that woman may look at another woman and realize like, what is it about her that I lack? Because most of the time it's what the person is lacking is what is watering that jealousy. And that's just a terrible place to be at. What's worse than a person with a gun, than a person who wilds out in the streets, a person who is just completely drawling? And that's a jealous person. The reason why that's so, a jealous person is worse than anything because a jealous person comes in the form of love. A jealous person can come in the form of someone who emotionally manipulates by showing that they care or sharing with others, hey, I really care about this person. And hey, I don't really know what's going on and I don't know why they're doing this. And just to share my testimony, I've had a person call my mother, call my brother, call my sisters. They lied. They called the people around me in a circle. They tried to lie to them, and they were showing signs of emotional manipulation to try and get them to confide inside of them without having to take the time out to hear my side. Did I ever care? No, because results ended up shutting that all down. So then when the results came, everybody was like, well, that don't make sense. You said this, and this doesn't make sense that you said that. So if you know someone who's like that around you, I would continue to drive your results. Because when you drive your results, that is what shuts down true jealousy. And that's what makes someone actually feel worse about what they've done. The goal is in trading, you don't want to compare your journey, your P&L. You don't want to control your risk or anything. It's about having understanding. Coming into this community from the beginning, um, I've had moments where I've had good conversations with people, and they found, and for the people that were new, they found out, dang, Spivey, he may put on like a one lot, two lot, or I remember when I had my express before I ended up blowing that. I mean, my live actually before I ended up blowing that, and it was up there. And because I had a cushion, I scaled it though. I started off uh and maybe a one. And then maybe when it got to about 10,000, based on the type of risk person that I was, I bumped it up to a two. So then all of a sudden I was scoring about 3 to 4,000 for that whole week. Now I'm looking at 20, maybe 25, 30,000 in my account. So then I put it to three. And at that time, there was P&Ls where I was posting screenshots of 10,000, 8,000, and things like that. But I had to scale it up. I'm not going to act like I came out of nowhere and just did that. But then also, I've heard some great words from people that were doing micros, right? And I really took the time out not to necessarily battle with it, but to understand how could I still utilize it. So now in my trading journey, I actually utilize micros. And even if I have to put 8 or 9 micros on it, it's still something that fits within my risk. But I've learned to lower it too. I may put on maybe a 3 or a 4. So I appreciate the moments where it was a positive comparison, but you got to be careful who you do that with because I have some positive friends around me. I was able to have positive comparisons and be like, "Hey, won't you try that? Hey, won't you try this?" Okay, you know what? Cool. And it was challenging for me. You know what I'm saying? I would say moments like, "Nah, that ain't me, man. I can't do that." You know what I'm saying? But then I feel like life pushed me in that direction to be like, "Try it." And I ended up doing it. So things that I know that I can't, or I say that I can't do, things that you claim that you may think that you can't do, I would say take the time out to at least try it. There's other people that saw me speaking about, my risk tolerance, and they ended up bumping their risk up. You know what I'm saying? To being like, you know what? If I know my trades is on point, why am I doubting what I know that I can do, my analysis, aka also my confluences, what Dawkins spoke about 3 Saturdays ago, and then being able to add that all into something. Now all of a sudden, boom, my standard is up. I mean, my risk is up, and now I'm also making more too as well. So it's important to really understand that comparison's not all bad. And I'm gonna always give you the light and dark side of something. The same way I gave you the light and dark side of the reason why. Yes, you can give the reason why on something happened. That's important to help the other person understand, but that doesn't take away from also the effects of of the action that happened. That's the dark side. But the light side is I get to understand why the person did it. But the dark side is I still got to deal with the consequences and the effects of this person doing what happened. So there's a dark and light side also to comparisons. The positive side is finding the right individuals around you that you can have positive comparisons to. But you have to put your mindset in a viewpoint where you're willing to understand why a person does things the way that they do it instead of pointing a finger or being judgmental off of the fact that your experiences don't fit or align with theirs. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if that makes sense, please. I really want to make sure y'all really get that because going about your everyday life, you don't really want to um going about your everyday life, you really don't want to fall into a trap where you're comparing anything to anybody's forward walk. because you won't be able to move forward yourself. Um, Comparison leads to overtrading. This is huge, right? So I got notes up here that say someone posts 8,000 a day. Now you feel like your $300 gain isn't enough. So what happens? You force another trade, you increase position size, you revenge trade, you give back profits. The same way for someone who makes 8,000, and I've seen someone on Threads, I've seen people on Instagram smacking down on 10,000. So why would I try to be like, dang, I gotta get this extra one? It's like I scored $900. I'm cool. There was an account that I was doing with somebody, and I was assisting them as they were placing trades, and they made $900. Cool. Tomorrow they just made another nine. That's 1.8 in 2 days. Why are we trying to smack down 1.8 in a day? Now, unless you're catching a drop of liquidity from like the top or the bottom and you're letting it ride, then yeah, I could see you hitting 2,000, maybe 4,000. I know for myself, I try to do a lot of liquidity grabbing. So that's why I keep my numbers, or I try to keep myself within there, but I'm not excluding myself from ever downsizing, from ever having a moment where I may have to draw back my trading risk management. Because in trading, it's not about operations. Operations is how much you make. It's like business, right? You go to a warehouse, you got, the regional, you got district, you got the operations manager. Most of the time, operations managers and blue collar jobs are dealing with the money. They're dealing with the P&L. We're not worried about operations. Operations is important. It's easy to click the button to make the money, but as traders, we are focused in on risk management. We are risk management analysis or analysts, I'm sorry. So we want to make sure that we're managing the correct risk and we're not comparing our P&L to someone else, because that's going to take away our joy for us being happy about what we're actually doing and how successful we are. So we got to be careful about that. Comparison makes you abandon your trading plan. And this happens every day. Examples: copying someone else's entries, trading strategy every week, jumping from supply and demand to resistance support to, ICT to Elliott wave, and just switching around. It's like you don't want to do all that. It's so many different things that you can switch up, and it really ruins a lot. Um, you deal with you deal with jealousy and envy. Let me be more clear. Envy comes after jealousy, in my opinion. Envy is different from jealousy. Does anyone know the difference? If you do and you got quick fingers, type it in chat. But jealousy and envy is different. Now, to be honest with you, I'd rather give it to you so you guys actually hear the definition. Jealousy is the feeling of someone or their achievements, right? Envy is the painful resentment emotion caused by someone else's success. So jealousy is the fact that someone in their achievements is making you upset. So I know that if jealousy is someone's achievements or advantages, the only reason why someone would have an advantage is because they studied, because they took the time out to never give up. People who don't take the time out to never give up, that's why they have an advantage. But envy comes after jealousy because it turns painful that you resent the emotions caused by someone else's success. So when I say things like so it's just me, Spivey. I believe envy comes after jealousy. I don't personally believe you can be envy and not be jealous. You got to be jealous first, and then envy comes. Because the jealous part is what breeds the envy. So what breeds jealousy and breeds envy? Comparison. So if you're if you don't take the time out to actually check yourself and figure out, man, I'm looking at this person, I'm seeing them moving, I'm seeing them doing something, and you don't really know why. Well, if you ask questions, you get the answers. But you gotta remember, most of the time, people can't ask you questions because of how they see you. They see you in a certain light, so they can't ask you the certain questions that they would ask you. Or they've already dug themselves their own grave that they've fallen into because of the fact that if they come to you and ask you, it's going to mess up their ego and pride because now they have to live with the fact that I asked somebody that I was jealous and envious of. So it's a dark hole that you don't want to go down into. It's a very dark hole. There was another situation, and I'm a person who, I put it out on the table. I'm not a finger pointing name type of person, but um, I want to surround myself personally. I want to surround myself with people that are better than me. There's no way, shape, or form would I ever want to be around people that aren't. I'm not going to have a big moment where I'm inviting a bunch of people around to just talk about other people or have others around that aren't doing better or have others around that are on the same wavelength as me. You always got to make sure you keep someone that's or people that are around you that are doing a lot better. And the only reason why a person wouldn't want to do that is because they don't want to be exposed for how weak they are. So be very cautious, not just in your trading, but in your real life, and pay attention to the people who pop jokes at you just as a way of them being funny, but it's actually their self-reflection of what they really lack because there's other areas in your life that you're better than them at, but that's based on their expectation. Because most of the time, when you're really worried about yourself, you don't have resentment. Resentment only comes from someone who never tried something, from someone who just sat back and allowed another person to go forward. So you don't never want to have the type of resentment or anything inside yourself that's going to stop you from being a better trader. Focus on the process and not other people's results. Elite traders don't wake up asking, what did everyone else make today? They ask, did I follow my rules? Was my execution clean? Did I manage risk? Did I improve? That's the scoreboard. And every week, I know for myself, I'm up in the score, 100%. I'm doing a lot better as far as being able to recognize how many trades I'm taking. Last week, I took too many trades. I even posted it up there. You could see it. Some days I hit 21, some days I hit that. I was emotional. I don't like red. I don't like seeing the red. I can admit that. But that's something that's like, Dad, Spidey, you got to work on that. And if you do, what's the problem? So there was days where I was like, you know what? I lost 500. Let me walk away from London session. I showed up New York. It's still the same day. Boom. Now I'm smack down 4 bands. I'm cool. Because sometimes it's not always about winning. In trading, if you don't have the certain things that you're supposed to have, it's going to expose you. If you're trying to be consistent to get to the money, get to the payout, get to this, you don't have patience. That's something that you got to work on. You got to really be honest with yourself and be like, I don't have patience. Why don't you have patience? I don't have patience because my reality looks like this. My situation looks like this. I got all this stuff going on. I got this going on. That's not the market's problem. The market doesn't give a darn about your emotions. The market don't care about how you feel. The market doesn't care about what you got going on. They don't really care about any of that. What the market cares about is your discipline. The most disciplined traders are the ones who end up making it happen. We got like 5 more minutes left, so I'm gonna wrap it up soon. Run your own race. This is how you close the class, right? So in order to make sure that everybody around you, if you were around and you were teaching a bunch of people, teaching a class, you want to close out by always letting it be known to everybody around you in that class, run your own race, run your own journey. I had to work at Amazon for almost over like 5, 6 years. I tell anybody I was throwing boxes out the window, I was on the call. There was days where I was at Wawa. I was on the call for the ones who know I was there. I was catching Asia plays, sitting at the cashier, still talking to people. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, beep, beep, scanning stuff, boom, boom, boom. Still, my phone's right next to the register. I'm looking like this, looking down, like, okay, let me wait for that candle to drop. Oh, place an order, put my stop loss. I'm still signing stuff out because I wanted an exit. And unless you plan for your exit, I truly believe that God won't give you your exit because we don't actually plan for your exit. We think that we're supposed to just flow, which is fine, but you got to plan too because you got to have strategy in order to see your way out into your next plan. And I've learned that setting up strategy is what allowed me to actually, a couple months ago, not probably like over three now, I would say maybe four, to be able to actually send the text that I did. I walked into work. There was a Wawa that burnt down or whatever, and they put us around at different spots. And I was getting like 2 days. I was busting down like what, $80 on a check. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? Like I'm missing time. I went up there. I said, yo, I appreciate yada yada yada. Sent her a long text. I said, I'm about to go make my dreams happen. I'm about to go accomplish this. I'm about to go open up that. I said, I appreciate you for everything that you ever did. And then I just left it. And then now, literally, I wake up every day. My peoples don't challenge me on it. My girl has seen the results on it. Everything has shifted because I chose to shift what I want to do. So now when I make a play in the morning, I'm done. And now I'm really on to other things that I love, like studio. I get to write music. I'm planning my next trip, moving into my home, just everything. Like I get to now shift my reality based on not just my faith and my belief, but then also my decision. And we already covered decision making. So really being able to move forward helps with that. I got some questions I'm gonna leave y'all with. And I want y'all to write these questions down. Have you ever entered a trade because someone else posted profits? Have you ever increased risk because another trader had a huge day? Have you ever doubted your strategy after watching YouTube? How much money has comparison actually cost you? And what would your trading look like if you stayed in your own lane for the next 90 days? You didn't worry about anything, anybody. You literally take the thing that Dawkins said about confluences, which is different opinions. That's why we're here in the group. And then we're all putting it together like, what you got, what I got. This is why I consistently post in the analysis section. This is why I consistently post in different areas to be like, all right, well, this is his thoughts. Let me compare it to mine. I may be on a social media with somebody that I follow. The next thing you know, I'm like, yo, what you got? And then he's telling me, well, I got these levels. I'm looking back at my joint, like, yo, I don't got that level. Hold on. What does he see that I don't? So it's a matter of really looking at to figure out what it is that I want to know so I can fix myself and be better. Trading is a mirror. And if you don't end up being better with yourself, you're going to have comparisons. Comparison steals joy because it steals perspective. The market doesn't pay the trader with the biggest ego, it pays the trader with the greatest discipline, which is important for everybody to show up because Dawkins is about to cover journaling. Here's my journal. I have been journaling every single freaking day. I've even put down things as far as you're dumb. Why did you do that? That is stupid for you to over leverage. This is why you're not being successful. This is why you have lost the last couple days. I'm being honest with myself. Like I'm not playing around because it's me versus me. And I don't have time to be comparing myself to other people's journey. Spivey's gotta get better. Maurice, Bubbles, Malachi, L, OT, King, everybody's in the chat. Y'all gotta get better with yourselves. Why am I having situations like this with my relationships, with my family, with my friendships? It's because we don't take the time out to actually look. We want to compare ourselves to what something could be or what something is. So that's why we really have to take the time out to understand that, hey, let me really attack what I feel like I'm lacking. Because when you don't do that, it's a problem. Comparison steals joy because it steals perspective. Your perspective on what someone else has or what someone else does doesn't do any justice for you. And the only reason why someone would compare is because they feel as if a person shouldn't have it. But instead, you're wasting so much time and years looking at what someone else has, and look at how days and weeks. We are in the month of July. We passed half the year. What have you done? Do you have anything to account for? Ask yourself that. It's those type of things that I know that's important that I always ask myself. It pays the trader with the greatest discipline. Stay in your lane, trust the process, protect your peace. Your journey isn't behind schedule, it's unfolding exactly where your consistency takes it. Someone who fails at a test, did you show up again? Someone who's not here, did you show up?